Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob Academy Award Edition? Question mark? Statement?
Why is it
one of many?
I don't even know. Are we allowed to say that? Is it like copyrighted or anything? Like we can just do this, right? This is a podcast, right?
I think we can do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fair use.
Guys, we are on, I don't know, what number movie are we on? 6, 5, 7? Do we know? Research team?
7, I think.
No.
Watched or recorded?
I think I've watched 7.
I think we've watched like 6. Okay, so we are on a new Oscar-nominated movie for Best Picture this week. We are in the middle, or maybe past the middle, of our Academy Awards episodes. This week, we have a special guest artist. Are we artists, guys?
He's gonna play a song for us.
He brought his harmonica. Oh, man. No, we have a guest host today, and this host is my dad. Welcome, Dad, to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now,
So you let the secret out.
I did. Sorry. I stole the secret.
Spoiler alert.
They're
my related.
Dad. Since, people were wondering all of the fan mail that we get. When is more of your family going to be on there?
It's very famous.
You were the most requested.
I believe so. From both letters.
So this is family friendly then. It is true.
Yeah. I mean, we're all family and we're pretty friendly, so I feel
Okay.
like it's family friendly. I mean, it's not. You shouldn't let your kids listen to this. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's family
And we're
friendly.
not that friendly to each other.
But it's totally appropriate.
Technically,
Yeah.
it's family friendly.
Okay, so we got to get a little vibe on what movies are your favorite movies of all time. I didn't give you too much time to think about this. So if you said, someone said your top 5, and they don't have to be like, hard and fast. What would come to you as your favorite movies of all time?
Toby Tyler and the Circus.
Whoa!
MASH.
Great movie.
Yes.
Toby Tyler.
Yeah, come on.
Stop.
Don't show me.
Disney. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, in case you don't know what Toby Tyler is, it's 1960.
Is that Kurt Russell?
No.
Who's the kid?
Could be.
It would be amazing if it was. No, Kevin
Corcoran.
Corcoran.
Oh,
Okay.
obvious.
And he did absolutely nothing after that.
Well,
What else can you do
hey.
after Toby
Yeah,
Tyler?
exactly.
What
Good-
else can
good
you?
man.
Nice.
Mm.
So that's obviously, is that one of the first movies you remember?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, he's the kid from Pollyanna.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Nice. Okay.
And Swiss
and
Family Robinson.
MASH, great movie.
Yes.
Great. One of the most famous TV shows of all time afterwards. So different, by the way. Both great. Okay. What other movies would you say are your cup of tea or your dark beer of choice?
Well, you got me on that one.
All right.
You got me on that one. It'll come to me.
It'll come to you, okay.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So
The recording of Cats the Musical.
gross. We don't miss any version of Cats the Musical. Guys,
I recall, I think, Uncle Dale getting that. Somebody got that for you for Christmas one year.
no.
And I thought, huh.
Really?
Somebody
Was it a
recorded
white
this.
elephant
I thought
gift?
so.
I don't.
I
think
could be
so.
making it up. This is a memory I have.
That's
Potentially a false one.
Really? So your
Okay.
first movie memory of my dad is Cats the Musical.
Not the first one, but a memory.
Any memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't know about that, Dad. You might have to take Pat off the Christmas list.
I
next
think
year.
so.
I didn't get him cats, but
There's the naughty list starting off.
There we
Right,
go.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Okay, so this week, guys, we are doing. I don't want to say like the most approachable because there's a couple of that are more approachable than this, but this is no hidden agenda. There's no it's not so unreachable and heady. It's just a biopic. It's just a biopic of a very specific era. It is not like crazy things going on. It is one of the most famous actors on the planet right now. It's one of the more acclaimed actors also, and maybe she's I don't know if you call her an up and coming star because she's been in a couple of big things. But we also have a director who is quite accomplished in this genre already. And in case you don't know, I asked my dad here because I wanted to see this movie with him over anybody else because, Mariah, what movie are we watching today?
Complete Unknown.
Complete Unknown. Pat, who stars in this movie?
Timothée Chalamet.
Ah, it's so French.
Yeah. Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro,
Boom.
and a bunch of other good people. Boyd Holbrook,
So good.
and on and on.
And on and on. And they all play real people in history for the most part. This one's kind of we'll talk about Miss Fanning here in a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. I was stoked when this movie came out, but I was also terrified, much like Mariah was with Wicked, because, Wicked was a big deal, and you could screw
You're
that up
afraid
pretty
they're
badly.
going to do it wrong.
And I was like, a biopic of Bob Dylan is terrifying because it could be horrible.
Yeah.
It could be horrible. But the good news is I knew one person who'd watch a horrible Bob Dylan with me any day of the week, and that would be my dad. So
It wasn't a requirement to be horrible. But
No, but
still
we
good.
knew.
You knew it was easy pickings.
we would roll the dice if it was a possibility of it being better, if it being a good Bob Dylan movie. So
Well, you knew no matter what, you're going to get some Bob Dylan music out of it.
Yeah.
For sure. So this movie, I'm excited to hear you guys' hot takes and cold brews and hot takes. Not sponsored. Still waiting. Any sponsors out there? Let us know. Because you probably know I'm a little biased for this picture. So, Pat, we're going to start with you from afar. What is your cold brew and hot take? And are you drinking the same old beer, or do we have something new this week?
No, it's some it's going to be a combo of Lucille and Bodie.
Okay. Same thing.
Because
hey, it ain't bad.
that's what I had.
That's what I had stuck. That's fair. That's fair.
Did you mix them together?
Oh, that'd be great.
Not yet. I have the Lucille
I mean,
in,
I guess
and when it gets low, I will top off the Bodie.
Stop it.
We'll
Really?
see how it goes.
Is it good?
Yeah. The
Really?
mix?
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
not
I
that
don't think
far-
I would recommend it.
They don't
Oh.
taste
But
that
it's, you know.
different from each other. I think it's safe.
Because
Once-
the black and tan I'm all about. Like the Guinness and the lager. I like that, but that's another.
Once you have one IPA, your mouth is sort of immune to the variances in other IPAs.
Oh, the
So
bitter
I think it's
beers.
fine.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And
all right.
I'm worried that I couldn't come up with a favorite movie.
Yeah.
I can see right now.
You can
It
blurt
doesn't-
it out in
it
the
doesn't
middle.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
just
can blurt it out at any moment.
literally anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Pat,
Thanks.
bring it on.
When
Cold
it
brews,
comes to you.
hot takes. What do you got for the complete unknown?
So I got a bit of a words are escaping me. A callback.
Oh, okay.
That's the word. Singing live in a film isn't always overrated.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, so great. Okay, I get a little for those listeners or perhaps guests who didn't listen to our Wicked episode. We made fun of Wicked the movie because they sang live and recorded it.
We did
Okay,
not.
Mariah, just pick a side already.
You
okay?
two did.
Basically, we thought,
I
why
think
not
mostly.
record it? It's a movie because it's so silly to not make it as perfect as you can be when you're in an imaginary world.
Oh.
However, this movie, Pat, why on earth would you say something like that?
We can get it for now, but basically because it felt more authentic. It shouldn't all be pretty in this movie.
Right.
It's not a musical. It is
Especially
a
when it's Bob Dylan.
in-world.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a movie full of live performances, so of course you would
Yeah.
want him to sing
Yes.
live.
Yeah, unlike
It's not an inner monologue or singing, as a way of communicating. It's just legit performances.
It's not a flying fight scene with
I'm
monkeys.
popular, guys. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love that. I'm glad you went there because I was gonna throw that back in your face eventually, anyway. So I'm glad that was your hot take. So that's pretty good.
It was going to come back to me at some point.
Okay. My hot take is, darn it, I know Bob Dylan is not like the most talented singer or guitar player, but Timothée Chalamet, you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
This isn't maybe a hot take or not, but it was frustrating how good he did it. And it was, there was, when I lost myself in the movie so much that I couldn't help but think, you 26-year-old punk, way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go.
He nailed it. He just absolutely did.
And I hate to say this, he's better in this than Dune 2. That's the hardest thing for me. You know, this is his best movie of the year. Denny should still get best director. But anyways, this is
Hot take.
Yeah, that's my hot take. This is the best Timothée Chalamet movie of the year. Well, for Timothée Chalamet, not for a better movie. But anyways, that's my not so hot take.
Okay.
Okay, Dad or Mariah, who wants to go next?
Mine's easy. Elle Fanning should have also gotten an Oscar nom.
Nice. That's great. I agree.
Oh.
We should have 2 ladies in the category.
Okay, I got
this movie.
I got another hot take. Elle Fanning was better acting.
Sure.
That's my hot take. Monica did better everything, like singing and performing, but acting?
Well, all she had to do was sing and perform. She didn't have to act.
She had some snotty comments that she got to flip off Bob Dylan. That was cool.
She had some faces.
Yeah, she had some faces. But
Yeah,
but
she did.
But Elle
some
Fanning
faces.
did all the acting.
I do feel like Elle Fanning lifted the movie a lot. She
Yeah.
kind of did the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
for
does-
reals. The girlfriend was sad.
She made the movie approachable for the rest of us.
Bob Dylan is not approachable.
So otherwise, it's a bunch of weirdo performers,
Hey.
and so we get one normie in there to go. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Weirdo, unlikable. Actually, Pete Seeger was pretty likable, but the rest of them were like, yeah, you guys are a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash is pretty likable.
I thought Woody Guthrie
Oh, yeah,
was
likable.
charming.
For a druggie, I like Johnny Cash. Okay.
I think they're all charming, but like they're all also eccentric
Oh, for sure.
artist types, and
Yeah.
she's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a regular person.
Yeah. So
in that scene.
your definition of approachable was just
Yeah,
would be
she brought it-
hilarious right now. Huh?
She brought it to earth for some of us.
No, for real. Yeah, I'd say she ground the movie because otherwise you're just watching another crazy band movie. But then having her be
Yeah.
like, I'm outside of it, made it more approachable for a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Dad, what was your hot take for this movie?
Well, I was all set to be big time disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, bitter and the whole deal about
They ruined it.
Man, you're gonna take Bob Dylan, put him on screen. You
That's
know,
right.
And
Sell out.
the guy nailed it.
Yeah, I freaking nailed it.
Jeez,
they nailed
yeah,
it.
it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, you could see. I mean, you were talking about the music and the soundtracks and stuff like that, and it was just so good.
Yeah, so
you
good.
know, and it was very reminiscent of the time in the fact that it wasn't crystal clear.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
It felt raw. It felt like you were really there.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
This is the weird thing about film, which I think is, it felt more like you're there than the Bob Dylan stuff you can watch on YouTube. Because the stuff you watch on YouTube is such like old crappy quality that this felt like they got the vibe of what it felt like to be there. I assume. Even Dad's not even old enough to be there. In
I
Greenwich
think
Village.
I think even more so with contrasting with Joan Baez, because she would have been on and clear, and
Yes.
Yes.
and the
Yes.
fact that they were right after each other and or together.
And she could actually sing.
Wow.
Yeah, she could.
Yeah.
She was, so I was not disappointed at all. If that's the best thing I can say, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that I was not disappointed at all in the main characters, just because of their musical ability and
Yeah.
they just
And-
and acting.
Yeah, that's great. And so for me, I was like, I think this is great, but I was like holding my breath, like as we were watching the movie. I'm like, so Dad, as a Bob Dylan fan your whole life, what'd you think? And so I was stoked when he's like, oh yeah, no, that was legit. So let's go a little history. I'm gonna go a little biop here. Dad, tell us your history of kind of your music into Bob Dylan, because you're not. Spoiler alert, I know he looks like he's about 35, but really he's older than that. But he's not old enough to be in the scene for Greenwich Village, because that was like early 60s. You'd have been like 10.
I'd been 10 years old.
Yeah.
You
So,
were not at the Newport
No,
Festival.
not at the
No, I
Newport.
was-
He was not there when Bob
was
Dylan
not.
went electric. No.
Exactly right. No,
But-
but I did wear bell bottoms. You know?
Yeah, you did.
And a turtleneck T-shirt.
That's right.
So, hey,
That's right.
but-
But so tell us your Bob Dylan and why? Yeah, because what
Yeah,
your
yeah.
introduction? Where
You know what? I grew up in a real eclectic kind of a musical taste. You know, so I wasn't a rock and roller. You know, I grew up in a town of 300 people, you know, in upstate New York, and you know, the big thing for us was Casey Kasem's top 40.
that's amazing. Still back then. That's
Yeah,
so
and
cool.
at that time.
Casey Kasem.
Yeah. So I did try to do my research here, see how many Bob Dylan songs ever made.
Like none.
top 40.
Like two, maybe.
Just about two.
Yeah, about two. Like
Mr. Tambourine Man, I think, Like a Rolling Stone, Positively 4th Street. Yeah.
Yeah, and those weren't even his first record. Like that was like
No, yeah.
much later.
Yeah,
that was like
much later.
So
right. So, and I really like the fact that the movie didn't try to do too much. It kept itself within a certain period, and just, you know, nothing was lost by that at all. Yeah, sorry.
sorry guys, our sound guy is not holding the mic up close enough. It's not Dad's fault. It's the sound guy's fault.
Yeah, we need a sound guy.
We need the guy at the boom.
Duct tape it to his face.
Next time.
I hear that every week.
Oh
and
my gosh,
I haven't
Mariah.
learned a thing.
Oh, I'm not that I'm much better, but I can at least yell at myself when I'm editing it.
Oh, this is kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay, so have you ever seen Bob Dylan live?
Yes.
When?
Rolling Thunder Review, 1975.
Oh, that's so.
And I saw him in Niagara Falls, in the Niagara Falls Auditorium, or whatever you want to call it. Was a Coliseum or something.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, and there was Joan Baez right up there.
Still.
With
Isn't that
it,
so
you know?
crazy? As
Yeah.
much turmoil as they are,
Well,
they're
that
still.
probably
Yeah.
that would have probably been after a big break,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yes.
From
Yeah.
the end of this movie.
Right,
Yes,
right.
exactly right.
Uh-huh.
Way to go, Pat. That's good, dude. I didn't know you were Bob Dylan more.
Yeah. So I never listened to Bob Dylan much until I went to college in 1971. Actually, I mean, I was really up to with,
So
Tijuana Brass.
really, that's great.
Yeah. But when I got to Ohio in 1971, I ran into my old friend whom I was called Captain Trips.
True story, folks.
Yeah,
Obvious
true story.
reason.
True story. Yeah, and he grew up in Southern Ohio, just by the Kentucky border, and he was a bluegrass aficionado, and he's the person that turned me on to Bob Dylan.
That's awesome. So you can literally say, yeah, Captain Trips turned me on to Bob Dylan.
Didn't I say that?
Yeah,
That's
but
a
I just
fun
want to.
sentence.
I just want to re-say it because this is 2025, and that's a weird thing to say.
Captain Trips. Yeah.
You just
It sounds like
It is.
it's not real. It
Yeah,
sounds like a
that's
Cheech and
exactly
Chong
right.
movie.
That's
I'll be honest. That's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know also you at that time your poetry was kind of your jam at that time, right? Like so.
Yeah.
Is that did those worlds overlap? Like, because when I think of Bob Dylan, I think of more poetry beatnik rather than like rock star. What was the vibe of Bob Dylan in the 70s? Was he too big at that time, or was he still kind of cool? Or I mean, he was still cool. But...
No, he was still cool, but he still. He was known for his literary background, or the fact that he was, quite a lyricist and was quite a poet, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so, yeah, because I just think about like Bob Dylan fans. Like, how would you describe a Bob Dylan fan in 1972? That's a weird thing to say because we have these eras. Bob Dylan has these eras of like the first time he's the voice of the late 60s, right? Yeah. He's this what this movie talks about. But then in the 70s, he became bigger arenas or small, the traveling show. And so Was he ever?
Some, yeah.
Yeah. Was
Okay.
was he still cool? Because Elvis sold out. You know, when Elvis
Yeah.
got big, it wasn't cool anymore. Or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know those type of cultural. I can't, I really can't say. It's like a worldview. This is really real. This is truly true. This is
true.
good and bad.
That's true.
Okay?
That's a good point.
So, I can't put him in a box.
Yeah. Way to go. You're so much deeper than me. Jeez, I've learned nothing.
He didn't want to go in the box either,
He's
Seth.
tough.
He didn't.
He's-
No.
He
And
fought
he's-
the box.
And he's still talking into the microphone.
Yeah, and he made up his own boxes. Bob Dylan did. Okay, let's get into this movie because this movie was a doozy. It was a specific time. It did not go into the breadth of who is Bob Dylan really, but really just trying to this moment.
His meteoric rise.
This is Videographer. Let's talk about our first reactions because we kind of gave ours away with our hot takes. But Mariah, what was your first reaction as you watched this movie? Because you've watched it the most recently.
Yes. I went all by my lonesome to the
it's so
theater
great.
the other
I'm so
day.
proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
That's kind of sad and sick.
it is. It is. That's what I thought. Hot take. I want to do this every week. Go to the movie by myself.
It's not bad.
It's
It's
not
not bad.
You get over
No.
the weirdness
Especially-
of it,
not
and
bad.
you're
Especially
like,
when they sell beer and
Okay.
you sit there
Yeah.
with a beer all by yourself watching a movie.
You can say that at your age, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the best part about that
I'm
is
over the shame of it.
no
all.
kids. No kids there.
embarrassment.
Right.
No
Yeah.
kids.
No
Sure.
kids.
No kids.
No, I watched this. I think the thing that struck me the most in watching this is that I definitely know the most popular Bob Dylan songs, the ones that are still in movie soundtracks, and the ones you just know forever. But what I was so pleasantly surprised with was so many of the folk songs that I know from my childhood. That my uncle sang
Are you-
and his band sang.
Are you tearing up?
And I was so happy.
Hey,
Don't think twice, it's all right. I was like, yes, I love this
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
I didn't know he wrote this song.
Yeah.
There was just
Oh.
so
Isn't that
many
great?
that I
Oh,
was
wow.
just like, oh, this is like, felt like home for me. Like
Yeah.
Wow.
the Newport Festival. I was like, yes, this is music I feel very comfortable with. So it wasn't just that I was interested in the story, but I was just pleasantly surprised to find out more of his library of music.
That's awesome.
So
All right, Pat. How's the heartless Pat think of this movie?
yeah.
well, I went with my wife and my daughter.
Oh, so you had to pretend to have a
'cause-
heart. Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. No, so I think I went in feeling like, well, it's probably gonna be good. It's James Mangold. I like these actors. And then I was, and I knew Bob Dylan music from Living, and probably mostly again from
As
From
a
living.
breathing human being.
From being around on the
from
planet Earth.
movie.
Good.
Yeah, but like from movie soundtracks, like Mariah said, like
Oh.
it wouldn't have been stuff on the radio
Right.
growing up, right? Outside of 60s, oldies, 95.7 kind of stuff, right? So there'd be a little bit of that, and otherwise it was probably movie soundtracks. And so I didn't have a good understanding of his life or anything like that. But then I was like, oh, this is just a folk soundtrack, basically. Like, I'm down for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of felt like great tunes throughout. And I was very pleasantly surprised because it also touched on, because we got some Joan Baez music and some Pete Seeger music, just that folk, influence of that time. As Mariah said, it felt like the soundtrack to my life in a bunch of different ways, both personally and from a movie perspective.
Yeah, right down to the 4th grade field trip.
Oh, really?
Roll
Yeah.
on Columbia, roll on.
no.
Although they
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
include it in this one, but the fact that
Oh.
I knew Pete Seeger wrote that, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, cool.
Wow.
I'll be honest. I was surprised Pete Seeger music wasn't from 100 years earlier. Because it's
Sure
such a
could have
been. Oh, yeah.
Because it feels like it's something we've been singing for 100 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
Absolutely.
oh, it's just from the 60s? Like, I was super surprised about
Yeah.
that. And it doesn't, and here's the weird thing, like, the communist connections to a lot of this folk music, because that was like the anti-culture movement, right? But then it sounds just like what we'd hear for kids songs now.
Well,
like
yeah,
it sounds
he
like
was-
Raffy
He
and like
was just so wholesome. And
yeah, because he was wholesome.
It was just like he was so positive through the whole thing, and
This
And
yeah.
that was so nice, but it didn't last very long.
No,
No.
right. That's the thing about movies. You're like, oh, that's so cool that this was such a big thing. No, but it wasn't.
Well,
It
yeah,
was such a.
yeah,
It was a.
I
It was a
mean-
moment.
Take a snapshot. How many years were we talking about that it was covered in the movie?
Oh yeah, like 1, 2.
3.
61
maybe
to
four.
65, I think.
Yeah, so
four,
four.
out,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so, yeah.
And so much changed within
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Yeah, Bob Dylan, for example.
Yes.
Well, and the ebbs and flows of folk music too. You know,
Yeah. For
it
sure.
gets popular for a while, and then it's not.
Okay, let's get into this movie because there's so many moments I just adore. So I had just finished reading a biography, and I actually can't remember what the biography's title was, but it was about all because Bob Dylan's written his own autobiography, chronicles, and there's all that other stuff. But Bob Dylan, in classic Bob Dylan fact, I mean history, he doesn't actually tell the actual truth. half the
Unreliable
time.
narrator.
He kind of makes up stuff all the time,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
they addressed in the movie, which was great.
Like he's not a carny.
Right, like he's not a carny. He didn't learn the picking style from whoever. No, it's all of it's great. But so I just read one that actually kind of went through things like actual like fact checking all the things, but it was also like a kind of like you could tell you guys were Bob Dylan fans, and it was also like it was kind of honest about how mean Bob Dylan kind of was sometimes because he just never had the chance to maybe be normal once he got famous because he got famous so young. But then watching this was so fun because it's like you see him starting to get into this world where he no longer can be a normal human being, but he still starts out as he never was normal, but he starts out as a regular person. And then before the stardom hits and he has to become the secluded person that we know him now, who doesn't give interviews and anything else. So that was very fun. But my favorite moment, because they talked about a lot in the book, was the Woody Guthrie Bob Dylan interaction, which made me love Bob Dylan because Bob Dylan was kind of a jerk in a lot of aspects of his life. But his relationship with Woody Guthrie is one of my favorite things about him, and I loved how they did it in the movie. And that alone, I was like crying watching the Woody Guthrie parts because I'm like, that's exactly how some of these books have portrayed it, and so that was my favorite part of the movie because that was like because it really was this passing of the torch of this folklore
Or the harmonica.
or the harmonica. Touche, good one, Mariah.
For
Well,
those
I
of you
think
who can't
what's
hear me
interesting-
talking to the mic, passing of the harmonica.
Mariah has the shotgun mic this week, so
Yes,
she can stand wherever she wants. The
That's
mic will
right.
catch her.
The fact that he was 19 when he came to New York and all this
insane.
started happening, like, yeah, he's not a formed human. I think that kind of makes it all
Oh yeah.
more amazing in some ways that he had so much talent, out of the gate, but also how many people are able to transition to anonymity to fame in 4 years and not
Sure. Yeah.
kind of be a little screwed up by it. Like, not that that's an excuse for anyone to be a jerk, but
Mariah, so much fame.
you look back when,
Yeah.
It's getting hot in here.
Keep
I was
it-
that age.
It keeps me
It's
honest,
not-
Gotta-
I didn't have it all figured out, right? So it's just kind of amazing. And I think Bob Dylan has always felt old to me.
Yeah,
Like at every age he was old somehow. And so I think
yeah.
even that
Like
feels
old
weird
soul,
seeing it, like,
or
oh,
he just
you are
always
literally
looked that way, or
No,
what?
old soul. He looked younger than those early ones. He
Yeah.
just old
Yeah,
soul.
I did appreciate the fact that they pulled it off. I mean, the 60s at that time, where I remember we said never trust anybody over 30. How's that working out for you? So, but
That's
at
great.
the same time, he was true to his roots, true to his music, and that was the point. It wasn't, we didn't have an unnecessary conflicts between age groups, et cetera, et cetera. We done that, and it's not It's not what the point was.
Interesting. Because thinking that era, it's almost like a blueprint for other generations of how to be what rebellious youth looks like. Because before that we had World War II.
Yeah.
Before that we had because honestly in history we just haven't had youth. Period. There's no such thing. 150 years ago, you're just working. You're just and so and then you have World War One, and then you have World War II, and then finally the 60s are the first time where they have we have a voice now, and the 60s.
You mean like young adults?
Yes, young adults
that aren't
I feel like
purely in the workforce.
Yeah, 100%. And because it's like these teenagers, because Bob Dylan literally was a teenager in this movie, and that's like the first time. And then these teenagers have a literal microphone to speak out against the powers that be, when that really hasn't been true. It seems like in history. I mean, you could argue some other the newspapers, and Hamilton was young when he started writing for the Federalist. But those are different situations, of course, and specific things. But it's funny because every time I think about the 60s and like flower power or against the systems and all these Bob Dylan songs, and I'm like, oh yeah, even we all kind of try to copy that a little bit, that essence of
Well, and it was kind of
rebellion.
the first time where people actually had time to find themselves. You know, you didn't have to get married and have children instantly, or enlist in a war.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Like there was
I mean,
a
you did
small window
Vietnam,
where there
yeah.
was some time.
oh yeah, so 63. What year was the Vietnam War started? Oh, right away, because he talks about it in the movie. Oh, that's right, the Masters of War. That's right. Oh, such a good scene. Sorry.
So it's 1971, right? I get my first real opportunity to listen to Bob Dylan about 1971. So the Vietnam War is still going on.
Wow. Yes, that's the crazy part about it.
I'm a history guy, you know.
Yeah.
We did World War I in 3 years, and World War II in 4 years, and the Civil War in 4 years, and this thing is still hanging around.
Wow.
Here, you know. So that's much of the source of the rebellion, so to speak, at the time, and
That's crazy.
to listen to it and say the United States economy is a war economy, and it feeds on war, and it needs a war in order to function.
Yeah.
And so I had never heard that before. You know?
And that's all we hear now.
Yeah, right, exactly right.
That's crazy because
Military industrial complex.
yeah.
Yeah, but I, I never heard that. I never heard that anger from Bob Dylan. You know?
Yes, and I think that's one of the best parts about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Hurricane was pretty angry, but
yeah.
But you're right. Bob Dylan's because it was never like you're wrong. You don't be so stupid.
Yeah.
It really was like this poetic way of like talking.
Take a look
Masters
at
of
take
War,
a look at what's happening around
but
you.
Masters of War was kind of like look what you've done. Masters of War was pretty much
definitely
a middle finger to the establishment.
Okay.
That was pretty much.
All right.
But it was
that
a
song.
nice tone.
Well, yeah, I think-
folksy,
No.
with a nice folksy beat.
Oh, my
where you're
gosh.
Like, oh,
I think that's like
it's easy to swallow
Oh, I love this
the
girl.
angst.
That's so good.
what like Seth
Spoonful
is
of
saying,
sugar.
like what they show a little bit in the movie. Pete Seeger's called before like the McCarthy Commission
Yes.
to like rat out other Reds, and he's like, I want to sing you a song.
I
And
know,
it's like-
I love it.
Such a good scene.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So the form that their protest took is so easy to digest, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even if there's anger in the lyrics and stuff, it's
Yeah.
folk. So
Well,
it's
the
got
fact
this
that he went out and talked to the
toned
press
down
and was like,
vibe.
well, they wouldn't let me sing it, so I'm going to sing it for you.
So
yeah,
good.
that was a sweet part of that movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Let's talk about. Should we talk about some technical stuff? Other parts of the movie you guys loved, because I could talk about all the parts I love. I feel like I'm not a very unbiased fan of this movie. I just like it, and sorry, spoiler alert. I like it, guys. So I could go into a bunch of different parts, but for you guys, what were some of your other favorite moments of this movie, or least favorite parts of this movie? Frankly,
I mean, I unlike some other musicals that we've had this Oscar season,
Stop.
I immediately went and re-listened to a bunch of the music.
Yes. Same.
Both versions, like the real versions and then the recording versions. And like, you know, sometimes I like the movies versions more, honestly, and sometimes the originals are amazing, but it's just the music's just so good. I think I will give it a pass on a bunch of other stuff because I could just listen to the soundtrack over and over.
And that way, it reminds me of watching Jersey Boys the first time. Not the movie. The movie was not very good, but the musical is amazing because you're like, oh my gosh, they did this too. They did this too. This is so good. Who cares about the plot?
Yeah, it's kind of it was just nice to have the resurgence of Bob Dylan songs, and yeah, you walked out of there going, I need to listen to some of this right now.
Right, exactly. And the story itself, I mean, you talk about the Jersey Boys. Oh, tragique.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, for
That's,
sure.
You know, and so, but
And also his interactions with the other artists, you know, how he knew Woody Guthrie and
right.
Johnny Cash and Joan Baez.
Oh,
and
the Johnny Cash
all the
part
people
was
that
fun.
took little pieces and just were instrumental in the whole story. Was really cool to see how those guys all interacted.
So let's talk about James Mangold a little bit here. Pat, what other movies has he done?
He did Walk the Line, which is
Boom.
the other big biopic.
Yes,
He did
sir.
Logan,
Yes,
one of
sir.
the better
310 to
superhero
Yuma.
movies.
Seriously.
310 to Yuma.
Girl Interrupted.
I think he also did Wolverine, which is not as good as Logan, but still
No,
pretty good.
that's more embarrassing. You didn't have to bring that one up, all right?
It's not bad.
He
It's
also
not bad.
did. No, it's true. He also did Ford versus Ferrari, which is one of the most
Ford versus Ferrari.
rewatchable movies of all time. It's like, to me, Ford versus Ferrari is just under Moneyball. Like, it's one of those movies I could just watch all day long, every day, because it just is like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I'm not even a big car guy, but that was such a good movie with Matt Damon and Bale doing the thing.
Yeah, well, for me, and during this time, and you watch the the American automobile industry dissolve.
Yeah.
You know, so then I was going,
Yeah, we're not dead yet. Not dead yet.
fix or repair daily. Go.
He
man.
also did
Please go here,
Identity, which is a pretty great thriller.
Yes.
And then what I would
that's
say is
good.
Sylvester Stallone's best performance ever in Copland.
Yes, Copland is exactly right, which is a very underrated movie. But it was he got nominated for that. I think Sylvester got nominated for Copland.
For something.
I think so.
But it was very good.
It's very good. But then let's go to the other side of it. He also, unfortunately, did the latest installment of Indiana Jones, which, let's be honest, I'm not blaming James, but I'm really glad he did this movie because he completely redeemed himself.
I feel like he gets a pass because it was a pandemic movie.
I guess so. Oh,
It's like,
so
what
bad.
else are we gonna
So
do?
bad.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I
bad.
gotta kill some time here
I will say this, though.
and not be near other people.
That's
and
It's not
do
the
this in
worst
a-
Indiana Jones movie.
No, but that's not
No.
saying. Unfortunately, that's not saying anything anymore. Unfortunately,
sadly.
that's not saying anything anymore. I will say this though: when Johnny Cash came on the screen, I had excitement and fear. But then when I read that it was the same guy who did Walk the Line, I'm like, no wonder I liked it so much. It had some of the vibes. Obviously, it's not the same because we don't have
Joaquin
Phoenix being Johnny Cash, but it was like a more playful version of the same character that he did in Walk the Line. So it felt like
A
they
different
were
take,
but
it's also a different time for him.
yes, so it was
wasn't
very fun.
the same years. It wasn't.
I felt like you'd watch both of those movies and be like, yeah, cool, they go together.
Yeah.
That's fine. They're not contradictory.
The whole parking lot driving was
So good.
It was probably the funniest part.
That was
Offering,
pretty
It
good.
was,
offering him a bugle.
Whoopsie.
You want a bugle?
The bugle, yeah.
Product placement.
Yeah.
That's right.
Historically accurate. Bugles
Well,
existed back then.
You looked it up, didn't you?
Yeah, Johnny Cash.
It wasn't a fun fact.
Johnny Cash
Well, I
had
guess
some
speaking
rough
of that,
years,
so-
though, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah. I didn't know enough about Bob Dylan and everything to know how much the movie was taking liberties or not. Did you guys who do know more about Bob Dylan go,
What do
well,
you wanna-
that's
well,
not right.
I don't want
Because
this.
my other hot take was like, is this a Bob Dylan biopic, or is it
Of
an
Bob Dylan
impressionistic
vibe.
view
Yeah.
of folk music in the early '60s?
Yes.
like with the
Yes.
backdrop of a Bob Dylan type character.
Yeah. Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, exactly right.
So,
Perfect.
But Bob liked it. So
Bob was in his.
is that right? Come on.
he said, yeah.
Yeah,
He marked up
Seriously?
the script.
That was the first thing I looked up. I was like, did Bob like this?
Oh
movie?
yeah,
For
sure.
sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
James Mangold gave him the script, and he put a bunch of notes in it. And apparently, there was some. He was like, "Hey, what lines would you cut out of this song?" And James Mangold was all nervous about it.
Yeah.
And Bob's like, "Oh, third verse, sixth verse, you don't need them."
Cool.
Cool with it all.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
That speaks,
That's
that
pretty
speaks
cool.
volumes right there.
So
Yeah, that was.
I think his one note was to change Elle Fanning's character's name from the real person
Yeah.
to a fake name.
And
Which,
it's-
as jerky as he is, off and on, the fact that he's like, this is a real person. She's not a famous person.
Yeah.
We're changing the name
And she
to protect her.
and
yeah,
because she
you gotta
passed
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah.
because
I
she
feel like
passed
that
away
was pretty cool.
far enough
Right.
before. Yeah, but 100% it's
Yeah, it's her.
Sylvia
Well,
Russo is Susie Rotolo.
she's
it's
on-
the same person.
Yeah, she's on the cover
Yeah.
of whatever that album was. So it's not like no one knew who it was.
Yeah, exactly right. And the name is almost close enough that like it's still SRSR. So like
I saw Elle Fanning do an interview, and she's like, I play this person, which is based off Susie Rotolo. And
Oh,
I'm
she
like,
even said that?
we're
That's
not.
funny.
Yeah, it's like we're not quite
Yeah,
hiding.
it
this
wasn't
very-
super protective, but the thought
The
that
thought
counts.
was there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the irony is she's kind of the hero. Like she's not the hero of the story, but she's the one who doesn't look bad. She's the only one who looks
No.
like because like even Joan Baez kind of looks like she knew Bob Dylan was dating someone, and she still like
Well,
was
she's
like
other than her being a little slutty. Ooh.
yeah, but I mean yeah, I cannot.
Hey,
I
it
will
was
not.
the '60s, man.
It's the '60s, man. Why you gotta be so judgmental,
Her voice is
Mariah?
so nice,
Jeez
though.
Louise.
Can
Oh
she-
my
can
gosh.
she
I don't want
say
to
that?
put like labels
Yeah.
on
It
it.
did.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we're
It
definitely
was-
not family friendly
No, she-
anymore.
He
No,
can
I mean,
edit it out.
if you wanted to,
She came off very principled and like a real human, I think, in the movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, for
yeah, I think that if you could have taken the personalities and you could have just outright trashed them.
No, for sure.
And I thought that was very, very, very well balanced.
Yes. It appreciated. It was a fan, but it didn't like make him like Jesus or anything. Like it was a very
Right.
because I hate it when they go too far one way. It's like everything they do is great because like people complain like they did have an abortion. Like there's a lot of things that could have gone really gritty in that, but they chose just to kind of get the vibe of the day. And I totally feel like for the limited time you have, unless it was like a mini series, then you can get into all those sub things that are going on with Bob Dylan's life. But because it's a movie, let's stick to the main idea of the movie, which I felt they did a great job doing. And that's what I feel like other movies get in trouble with. They try to tell too many stories and they try to conclave, bring some random stuff in the end. I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, this,
Well, yeah, and it's not a
ahead.
birth to death story, right?
Exactly
Like,
right. That's true. Too.
James Mangold is like, let's just do a little slice because there's plenty here, and it's not about like their entire journey. It's just a moment in time.
I got to talk about this. For Bob Dylan fans, we all know when Bob Dylan went electric. Even though we weren't there, we knew about this. But you know what I didn't know? He went back on stage. The way they talk about it was like he tore the place down when he went electric. Everything's on fire. The world's over. But no, he went on and did another set acoustic after that, and then they cheered for him.
Well, and they even dramatized the festival in this. Like it
absolutely.
wasn't that dramatic. Pete Seeger wasn't trying to unplug the whole thing. Like it was just not quite as dramatic. I mean, it was. I'm sure.
But you ready for
shocking.
this?
I'm sure
Well,
there were booing people, but
And Bob had done a whole set the day before, I think.
Yeah.
too,
Yes.
all acoustically.
Yeah.
So
But-
it was.
But in the news, it felt like worse than the movie.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it. Like the way I was like, it feels like Rolling Stone talks about it, and every other one talks about Bob
Sure.
Dylan going to lectures. Like Bob Dylan kicked Pete Seeger in the face
Yeah.
and spit on Woody Guthrie's grave. Like
Yeah.
that's how it feels. But really,
Yeah.
it's like no, he's just bringing this other thing on, doing this thing, and then he still went on and did an acoustic set with Joan Baez singing one of the songs. Like
Yeah.
so that was like I'm like oh. I like how this movie didn't make it completely like yes they built it up a little bit, but at least they showed that part, which they almost never show in other things.
That's very true because I grew up, you know, in my 60 years ago. I thought that's the way it happened. That you know that he just spit on him,
Yeah.
literally and figuratively, and so I really appreciated that.
It was it was nice. It was kind of a nice like there was turmoil because there was a feel.
Yeah.
Again, like I feel this movie gets the feel right.
Yeah.
It gets and that's where you can like say it's okay for.
Well,
other
sure.
things.
And as
yeah,
a fan of folk music, and you're going for a folk music festival, I can see why people would be like, "What are you doing?
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's not
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
here for." I understand that like animosity from the whole switching it up kind of thing.
And they played maybe pretty fast and loose with how the response of the audience was. You know?
They're pretty good.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they were
there was-
throwing
there
as
was-
many things.
No, I don't
as
think
they.
so. But there's true
Was that a chicken?
clear lines between bad guys and good guys kind
Yeah.
of thing,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
life is
Well,
usually not that
Black
cut
and
and
white,
dried.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, this is another thing where the movie took a bunch of real things and shoved them into one moment.
Yeah.
Like Bob
go.
replying to someone calling him a Judas happened, but not there.
Oh, interesting.
And
Interesting.
you know, it was all like, let's just condense it. And you know, even the duo that they did, It's Not Me, Babe, was like the year before at the festival. But like, and Johnny Cash wasn't there at all. I think at that point or
I was
something.
wondering about that because I was like, I
He'd
'cause, you
been
know-
there, but I don't think it was that year at that
right,
time.
exactly
or
right. Because
something.
I'm like, I feel like at that time in Johnny's career, he was at a different place.
Yeah, I think they merged a few festivals.
Interesting. Loved
yeah,
it.
like
Still loved it,
63 to
though.
65. You know, whatever the
Just
cool
pick
parts
whatever.
from that.
That's
was,
funny.
Just shove it in there.
Just put it in.
But
there.
it was true-ish, right? Like there was a
Yeah,
desperation.
right.
Like Bob Dylan is becoming super famous, and if he abandons folk music, and all these folk people are like, "Oh no," are like
Yeah.
shining stars abandoning us. Like that would feel terrible.
And honestly, let's be real. This is the end of folk music having their moments. That's the other thing that they are realizing.
Okay.
So, would you think? Is that a fair statement or not?
I don't know. But I mean, folkies are still folkies, you know, and folk music still has a voice, you know, and
For sure. But it won't keep the top spot of the cultural moments. Like I was thinking, I mean, Mighty Wind is a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
No, I might be wrong.
That's another
Another
one of my
one's
favorite
great.
too.
See, I thought so.
You
I
got
was
it.
hoping you'd bring that one up.
Yeah.
I will say my love for the mockumentaries does come from my mom and dad. We watched all of Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, the other one's Mariah.
Spinal Tap.
Well, Spinal
Tap.
Tap was,
Oh.
but Mom hated rock and roll, so we never watched that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad and I would watch that. but
Yeah.
Mom
It was,
wouldn't watch
yeah.
We were. Oh
Waiting
my
for
gosh.
Guffman.
We had
Yeah,
a
Waiting for
Waiting for
Guffman.
Waiting for Guffman, so funny. Dad and I had a moment where we realized that we like things that Mom doesn't like. What was the movie we were talking about? We were like, it's the funniest thing ever. And she's like, no, I never watched that with you guys. I literally walked out every single time you guys watched that. Oh, SNL.
Okay.
Shout,
Yes. Yeah.
shout out to the fifth. Okay, Pat, just keep it down, buddy. All right, just keep it. Pat's having a dogfight over there. Hey, Michael Vick, could you keep it down a little bit, buddy? Sorry. It's my bad. Am I allowed to say that?
Would
I
you
didn't bring
stop
any
taking
money,
bets,
but
Pat?
I know.
No, it's ridiculous.
I know. Yeah.
Didn't like your point. You know, our critics.
Oh dear.
Oh my gosh! No, we were watching like Mom. We watched the 1975 SNL all the time, and she's like, "No, you three did. I never watched it." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. You went to go watch Perot and Perry Mason after that. Okay, that makes sense."
There you go.
I've been so torn my whole life.
I know.
Been equally influenced by both.
Both. That's so great. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about Chalamet. Do we all agree he killed it?
Yes.
Yay or nay?
Yes. Yeah.
Yay.
Better than Wonka.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Agreed. I agree. Oh, easy.
Well, it's different.
It wasn't
different.
No, Pat. It's not. Doesn't matter. It's much better. It's
Well, one was different. One was meant to be like.
I remember.
Quit
musical.
sticking up for Wonka
Oh
when
my
you
gosh,
tear down
it's
Wicked.
I liked
It's
Wonka.
fine. Of course
I
you like
liked
Wonka. You have bad taste.
Word.
No, you don't. Arrival's
You know-
great, by the way. I'm liking Arrival better and better these days.
Yes.
Anyways, okay. So ready for my actual my hot take was, thank goodness for the pandemic because this movie is so much better because of it. So because the story,
Yeah.
this movie is literally a result of how the pandemic slowed things down. And instead of Timothée Chalamet having to do this part in 1.5 years, he had 5 years to figure out who Bob Dylan was.
And prepare.
And play and
Yeah.
sing. And so
Well, not just the pandemic, but the SAG-AFTRA
and the
strike.
the strike
Like,
too.
yeah.
Oh,
They
so
had some
thank
time.
goodness. Like I wish everyone who did this had a 5-year period. If you're gonna do a biopic, 5 years required.
Right.
There you go,
I
guys.
think
And
it's
that's
a
the
good
reason why. Although,
one.
yeah, I did like Ray. Was good too. Anyways, but yeah, that was my other hot take. Thank goodness for the pandemic.
Yeah. I think that was the thing too. I mean, I knew he was singing and it looked like he was playing guitar. I think adding harmonica on top of that,
Yeah.
No, harmonica.
and then that it was all live, I was like,
No, that's legit though.
Oh
The
my
live
gosh.
stuff is insane.
Well, and also, could you picture Benedict Cumberbatch instead of Edward Norton in this part? 'Cause
Yes.
that's what
I
was
could.
gonna
Gosh,
happen.
Thank goodness, no.
Luckily,
I could
Thank
picture
goodness,
it.
no.
another thing
Visually,
for the
I
pandemic.
could totally picture
Sure,
it.
visually, but if he sang, oh, good night. Is
I
there a
don't
movie he
know.
sings in? Can he sing?
I don't know.
I
He
know.
probably can. It's Benedict Cumberbatch. He's
Yeah,
he's
he can
an
do
amazing
anything.
talent.
He
But
got.
I feel like Edward Norton was made
Okay.
to be this guy. I
This-
feel like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
great.
Let's do this. If you've seen this movie, folks, watch Edward Norton, then go directly to YouTube and watch Pete Seeger.
Yeah.
And it's insane
He's
how
a
good.
ringer.
It's,
Yeah.
my other second, third, fourth hot take was Edward Norton did a better job than Timothée Chalamet. That was my other hot take.
Yeah,
because
he deserved an
when
Oscar for
he played Pete Seeger, I'm like, oh, he's playing this kind of like weird role. And then I watched Pete Seeger, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Speaking of weird world,
I'm like,
what a weird
you killed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
His wife felt just like his wife did. He talked to the audience like he talks to, like, I listened to this album directly after it, and it's exactly like Edward Norton talked to the crowd. He just talks to him like we're in a living room
Yeah.
with 4 or 5 of us, and he's just having a little sing along, and it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Oimaway stuff is pretty.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty
funny.
The
adorable.
lion sleeps.
It's pretty
tonight.
funny. It's because that's the thing. It's
So
like,
good.
oh my gosh. Oh, Edward Norton. I don't know why I sleep on you and I think that you're not as good as you are, but you are a great actor. You kill it all the time, and you bring your A game. And he loved Timothée Chalamet's performance. Every time he's interviewed, he's like, "You guys, this is a generational work." Like he just beams.
Yeah.
As much flack as Edward Norton has gotten from working with other actors, it seems like he's like this stage in his career. He's like a fan of those around him. You watch stories going to come out like, oh, he was horrible on set, but right now it seems like he
Yeah.
brings it for the movies he does, and he was nothing
Yeah.
but effusive about Timothée Chalamet's.
Well, if he
Chalamet's
did
part.
any method acting for this, there's no way he could have been horrible on set.
Oh my goodness,
he,
that's true.
he would have been a delight for
That's true.
everyone the whole time.
That's true.
If he was being Pete
Speaking of
Seeger,
that-
he was gonna be great.
It would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
let's just sing Kumbaya.
Apparently Timothy did need to go a little bit method, so he was dressed as Bob on set and
Yeah,
was
he did.
Bob
They
Dylan on
called
the
him
call
Bob.
sheet.
Oh,
Yeah.
He got rid of his cell phone for what, 2 years?
A
2
while.
years, no cell phone for a 25-year-old in 2023. That's pretty darn impressive. Pretty darn impressive.
Yeah,
Pretty selfless and great dedication to the roles, huh?
Oh,
Yeah, like a
learning
love.
the guitar and the harmonica.
To
of
be a
that.
22-year-old, to be given this part and be like, no, I care so much about this. My favorite is that they had these pictures and videos of him in his Dune outfit. Because, by the way, this is Timothée Chalamet, the face of a huge multi-picture franchise.
Yeah. Which was released the same
Year, spending all this time learning
Yeah.
songs. Yeah, Dune 1, Dune 2.
He's got 2
if you want
movies.
in part 2 and this.
Okay, we'll tell you our hot take, Dad.
Busy boy.
The best director this year didn't get nominated, and his name is Denis Villeneuve for Dune 2. And he should win the Oscar for best director, but he wasn't even nominated. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with my rant. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on.
It is another fun fact. The only other actor who is in 2 Best Picture noms,
Oh, you took one of my fun facts.
Oh,
Go for
Brad Pitt
it. Yeah.
for Moneyball.
Stop.
And what is Seth's top 10?
What movie?
Tree of Life.
Tree of Life. Oh my gosh,
Life.
that's so great.
Same year.
I didn't know Tree of Life and Moneyball were the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011.
So
yeah.
Was that Brad Pitt's? Oh no, what year did Fight Club come out? Because that was like Brad Pitt's height right then. Good night with
Earlier.
Edward Norton.
A different time.
Oh man, that's crazy.
That was 99, and so way before.
Oh, way before, because it's like
Actually.
2000. No, 4 years. 2004, 2005. Anyways, okay, nice. That's a good one, guys. Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
yeah.
Brad, I can't believe he has an Oscar Pitt. Sorry, I loved.
No,
I love that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Isn't
but
it as
come
a-
on, let's be real.
isn't it as a
In
producer?
Moneyball, though, he's great.
No, he didn't get best supporting actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Am I wrong here?
I don't know.
He didn't get
Research
one for
team's on
Interview
it.
with the Vampire? What?
I love how Brad Pitt and what's his name hate each other.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I think
Yeah.
that's so great. It reminds me of like Jay Leno and Letterman hating each other. The two like icons of an era. That's so good. Oh my
You're right.
gosh.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but you also got it for 12 Years a Slave as a producer.
Well, yeah, but producing doesn't count. It just means you got money. Come
I know.
on.
You're
Although-
not,
too,
you're
you're
not
right.
in front of the camera. It doesn't
Although,
matter.
are we talking? This is I can't believe I'm in the middle. Are we doing a whole
Tangent?
episode on the Macaulay Culkin movie,
A Real Pain?
A Real Pain?
A Real Pain?
We should.
We
Here
should.
on
It's-
Culkin.
It's really good. Sure. I know he has a brother. I just can't remember it. Okay. Because the producer Emma Stone had to like convince Culkin to get on a freaking plane because he didn't want to do the movie, and he's already won a Golden Globe for it. Because, anyways, that's just so
Tried to-
producers.
I think he tried to back out twice.
Oh, Wag the Dog. Dad, remember that movie?
Oh, yes, I do.
That's gonna be a top 20
Yes,
for
I
you.
do.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
That's an excellent movie.
Okay. Fun facts. Should we move on to fun facts?
Sure.
We can move on to fun facts. I'll let Mariah go first. I already stole some of her thunder.
I know and I did too on accident.
I honestly don't.
I have a couple.
Well, I
technical
mean,
stuff.
there's like all of the main singers sang live in this.
So good.
So that's cool.
So that's cool.
So that's cool. Edward Norton was the first person to approach Joan Baez about this and got her okay to talk to what's her face?
Oh, really?
Monica
Monica
Barbaro.
about the part because he wanted to see like how were these people that she interacted with all of them at the time. He wanted to get a realistic idea.
Ah,
But yeah, he broke the ice with her to get all those conversations happening.
That's cool.
all that interaction, all the work that they did,
Yeah.
I mean, not only
insane.
for their personal role that they were playing, but with everyone else too. So yeah, it
Yeah.
showed some great love in that, some great relationships, and that great working relationships.
Yeah. Well, also Woody Guthrie, I I didn't realize what he had. He was in the hospital that whole time. Like while I was watching the movie, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, was he like just so drugged out? Like, I didn't know why he was in there. Like, is it a sanatorium? I'm not sure. But he had Huntington's, which back then was probably a really new thing. Huntington's isn't even very well known now.
Bad stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some reason for that because it is so easy to pass on genetically. Your offspring are likely to get it and die younger than you. And unfortunately, both his daughters did die younger than he did.
Two of his children had it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I think people who have Huntington's now probably who get some genetic tests maybe don't have kids.
Right. That's true.
Because that's sad. Horribly sad.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Speaking of fun facts.
keep going for it, buddy.
So that was a not so fun
right?
fact, but it was a fact.
We
It
might
was
need
an
to
interesting
change our
fact.
title.
They're not all
Yeah.
fun.
They're not all fun. Sorry.
I love this part of the show, guys.
Yeah. Real uplifting.
Creepos.
You know who else died? Oh, that's great.
Well, related to all the actors, doing live singing, they did spend about 6 months recording studio versions of all these tracks, and then Timothée Chalamet got to set and was like, "I want to do it live."
Yep.
And they ended up not using any of those things. They spent
Wow.
all this time
Isn't that great?
building.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of, I think, friction with the musical director going like, well, wait a minute, like, why did we do all this work if we're not going to use any of it?
Sure.
But everyone was, eventually convinced, like, no, this is the way to do it.
It's only money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only money.
Time, money.
But, for someone who has watched musicals as much as I have over the years, it was just so tight because there was no dubbing, there was, so it was
Auto-tuning.
Take that, Sergio Leone.
phenomenal.
Well, could you imagine what Bob Dylan would sound like with auto-tune? Like, I don't know that's
Weird.
I think it would really mess with the song. Not that he's out of tune, but I just
Okay.
I don't think
No,
it's
he
his
was out of tune
style.
also, for sure.
But yeah, I think he would have really made it weird
Yeah.
if he didn't have the authentic sound.
Okay, let's talk a little bit.
It's amazing that people even like it. Right?
But they do.
How I know, and I do.
Hold me
But,
back.
like,
I know.
Hold me
Don't
back.
He's
Don't do it,
going,
Dad.
yeah.
No, don't
No,
do it.
like,
I'm taking them out.
There's Pat's hot take.
the fact that Joan Baez and his
Yes.
duet makes any sense at all
For sure.
is like,
Well, yeah,
I don't
she's so
understand
pure.
the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
She's
so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And
But he too, like, again, like, this is me not dissing Bob Dylan, but the joke about him, all of the impressions I know I grew up with is like, oh, you can't sing. And there's actually a really funny
not
clip
far off, yeah.
of Joan Baez doing a Bob Dylan impression. And it's,
that would be wonderful.
pretty,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's
I
really
watch that.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's so weird and distinctive. And again, with folk, a lot of it is pretty and stuff. And Bob Dylan's voice is not pretty, but
yeah,
it's
usually
so
there's like 3-part harmonies and
authentic.
everything. Yeah.
But the lyrics
right. And
are
so
so
you just
poetic.
go, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so good
Yeah.
and real. And so you go, oh, okay, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best things I saw was a duet between Johnny Cash, with Johnny Cash with Bob Dylan, and they were singing a Johnny Cash song, and Johnny Cash didn't know the words,
yes.
and Bob Dylan nailed it.
Yes. Yeah, that was great too.
Well, that's the other funny thing. I didn't realize
Yeah.
how incestuous all the songs were.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone was doing each other's songs.
Yeah.
And
I was like,
releasing
oh, wait,
them on
who even
albums.
originated this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they're on each other's albums, and it's like that wouldn't fly here. You know, you cover someone's song before they cover their song. Like, you just do that, and it's okay.
Yeah, till this day, about I thought that every song that Bob Dylan ever sang was written by himself. No.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And honestly, he started out as a Woody Guthrie cover band. Like,
Oh, did he really?
yeah, he literally would go and just sing Woody Guthrie songs,
Yeah.
and that's what he'd do like in his early days in New York in the Village. So it is kind of funny. Like, I always quote. I don't always quote this guy, but one of my favorite artists in college.
You will always quote him.
You don't always do anything.
I don't do anything. That's true. I'm not that consistent on anything.
I can't wait. You know,
What this is going to be. Yeah. So one of my favorite artists in college was Ben Harper, which is very much
Oh yeah.
a person of my time.
Of our time.
I wouldn't say the Bob Dylan of my time because he's not famous enough, but he was definitely like a voice of like against the establishment, and also actually really good. But he the difference between him and Bob Dylan is he was really good at guitar and he's a really good singer. So of course but he wasn't as poetic as Bob Dylan. No one is. I mean, that's the thing. Bob Dylan is arguably the top of Everest of lyricists when it comes to any genre. Like that's the thing about Bob Dylan. Like Jacob Dylan, his son, who also had a popular song when I was in high school.
Oh, really?
Talks about that all the time. He's like, yeah, I mean, what do you do when your dad's like the best lyricist who's ever, like, what do you do? Like, but he's like, but that doesn't take away from everyone else. It just means, yeah, of course, I don't think my dad was bad. I just acknowledge, like, yeah, he could do this thing. Couldn't play guitar or sing, but you know what he could do is be the best lyricist maybe ever and just come up with it on the spot. But Ben Harper always said, if you want to be good, you just got to play, and you got to play in front of people as soon as you can. Because if you want to actually be a performing artist, you just got to start playing in front of people as often as you can, because that's the only way to do it. And Bob Dylan did it early, and all he did was cover Woody Guthrie songs for a while.
Sure.
By the way, I want to talk about this book I read. This book is like not popular at all. And
The one that the movie was supposed to be based on?
no, it's called The Ballad of Bob Dylan. And there's like, I looked on Goodreads, it's got like 211 reviews. But it was like, it was one of the most like actual fact-based biographies of Bob Dylan I've ever experienced, because the Chronicles, like, you know, he's involved, so Bob Dylan's not going to tell the truth all the time.
I was
So,
a carny and I learned
shout out
everything
for The
from
Ballad of
carny.
Bob Dylan. That's a great book. Check it out. And that I listened to that right before I watched the movie, so it was really fun to kind of go there. I'm going to get technical here. Let's get technical. So the number is 12,800. And that number is the ISO that the director of photography used. And everyone's go ahead, just turn off
This
this.
is where we doze off.
Yeah,
Dale.
you can doze off for this one. That is a super high ISO. Usually people shoot ISO around, 640 is what this camera is that I'm filming right here is like the native ISO. Sometimes 800, 1200. This is a really high, possibly grainy, like makes the picture look bad. But they wanted to shoot in this high ISO because they shot in the Sony Venice. Shout out to Sony, because I shoot with the only Sonys. Because they could, and then they could just use natural light. So a lot of this feels so real because they're not using big lighting setups. They're actually shooting in the dark, basically, with a super high ISO for all you people. Some people like you pull up the gain or whatever else. But that was so surprising. Because that's not a normal ISO to shoot at, and this camera, the Sony Venice 2, could do that. So the director of photography is like, why not? Let's just do that. And they had custom lenses that are built for this movie, which is insane, of course. But so that's why this movie feels like it feels real. It sounds real. Sure.
So
it's
they had
Hollywood.
some time too.
They had
With the
some what?
pandemic. They had some time too.
To build their own lenses.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what we could do?
They're I think the DP talked about wanting it to evoke like the time period visually, and so it was custom lenses with that ISO, so they could shoot New York, as it was, which is oddly really New Jersey. They're like, you know what looks like New York in the 60s? Parts of New Jersey today.
Yeah.
And they literally went over
Jersey City then.
Jersey.
And so
Seriously.
yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You know what?
Jersey.
Yeah, they're like,
You
hey,
know what's less expensive? Is
Jersey.
Jersey.
That is so funny.
Oh man.
But they also used all the mics of the different.
Thank you.
kind of
That's so
periods and
cool.
studios.
So cool. Which is so great because like all the sound guys out there, like if you're a White Stripes Jack White fan, he's an analog guy, so he uses all these old microphones because they cost 10 times as much. So all these guys are like, well, yeah, because it's the best kind of microphones, the old microphones. But it's still very cool and very hard as a guy who's I'm not doing digital this time, but I will actually like record audio digitally because it's just easier to work with sometimes. And these guys are doing all analog for a freaking movie. How cool is that? So way to go, guys. Again, this movie.
Yeah.
Here's the thing too. It still feels like a small movie. This is the weird thing about it. It's you got big stars. You got a director who's worked with everyone. You've got the most popular 20-something male star maybe on the planet right now. You've got Edward Norton, who's a titan from forever. He's not, the A-lister he used to be, maybe. Much love, Edward Norton. I think you kill it in every movie. But still, like, it still feels like one of the smaller movies of this year. It feels like it's more intimate than many Hollywood movies. So that's why I thought
That's interesting.
that's for me. Maybe
It's like classic prestige movie, right? Like it's
classic prestige.
yeah, very snobby.
classic
that's snobby,
prestige.
yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah, because it's not a flashy, actiony, whatever. It's a genre movie. It's a smaller story.
Okay.
And I think the filmmakers probably wouldn't like me to say this, but it feels safe as a viewer to watch it, right?
Yes.
Like I feel
Yes.
Well, and it feels like they pulled
it's like
off.
I know you're gonna take care of me, movie.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and also because they
And that's not a bad thing,
they
by the
pulled,
way.
they
No,
pulled
I don't
off
think
Walk the Line so well, but this doesn't look like a copy. You don't feel like you just did the same formula, but it feels safe in the way that like these guys are going to take care of you. They're going to give you a good story. They're going to give you some great music.
Yes.
And they're not going to give you an agenda that you feel like you have to make a choice
Yeah,
on.
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
They don't preach at you in this movie. And I appreciate they don't make you feel like you're dumb.
Yeah.
They don't say like, hey, you need to feel this way or you're
Sure.
wrong.
Yeah.
It actually has like, hey, this is what's going on. And this is
This
how
is a
This is a
snapshot.
snapshot.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just a good movie. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't try to outdo itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, Pat, I just have a personal question for you.
What's up,
Yeah.
Am I an analog guy in a digital world, or am I a digital guy in an analog world?
That's a tough question.
Well, I can't answer it. I present it to you because I knew you'd be gentle.
Oh, you don't listen to this.
Well,
enough
I don't-
to know that.
Pat doesn't care about people.
I don't think there's an insulting answer to that. I think you can
it's
read it
both
any way you want. I think there's
Well,
charm in saying you're an analog person in a digital world
okay.
because you're classic, or
You're a
it's when
I'm a classic.
there's something more real to hold on to.
I'm
There's
tearing
stuff I've got a bunch of DVDs back here. That makes me a dinosaur in this time.
true.
That I still like physical media.
If
So
you had,
I don't know.
Oh,
if
yeah,
if
sure.
you had your
Exactly.
Betamax player, then I'd believe you. But
I
okay,
do have a VHS in my house, but yeah,
this
VCR.
this reminds me of last year's Oscar-nominated pictures, where we had 2 or 3 films that were actually filmed on actual film. They were actually filmed on film.
Yeah. Okay.
But they felt more modern, and then the one movie that was filmed digitally felt more vintage. And it was a question of like what the medium sometimes doesn't matter as the intent, if you're intentional enough to make it feel a certain way, because Oppenheimer was filmed on the craziest film stock you've ever heard of. They had to like rebuild cameras to show it in LA and New York.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then, but then
Just
most of us just watched it on
completely pretentious.
Netflix that was compressed and doesn't look super compressed. Meanwhile, I forgot the movie with the Christmas movie.
Oh,
Mariah
Paul Giamatti.
with Giamatti. Paul Giamatti.
The Leftovers.
The left.
We're-
The
Yeah, the holdovers.
The holdovers
Something over
felt
whatever.
like it was filmed in 1970.
Yeah.
Because it was so well edited, and the film stock felt the perfect amount of grain, and even the credits like would jiggle the right way. Like it felt like it was shot on an old 16 millimeter or whatever.
There
else.
was dust in there.
And then you watch Oppenheimer, and you're like, this looks like the most advanced digital whatever I've ever seen. And it was filmed on film stock. So that's the craziest thing about this. So this is one of those movies where I'm like, you use the technology to make it feel older than it should. Like this, if you watch this, you wouldn't know when it was filmed. And which I appreciate so much. Because that's the testament to the story over anything else. And there's no like indicators of when this was filmed. There's no indicators that this was shot on a very advanced camera at an ability to film that no one really knew. And so that's why I feel like, and it's the subtleties, the analog microphones, the letting Timothée Chalamet sing live, like all these things feel so real.
well,
that
the
makes it
actual
timeless.
guitars used.
Actual guitars used.
Yeah.
Guitars used. Very cool.
That's a fun
Actually,
fact.
yeah, actually Pete Seeger's guitar used by.
The clothes
so
used.
cool.
The fact that Levi's made all of
Yes,
this.
the Levi's-
remade all this stuff.
They
For him to wear.
reissued them. It's so I
Yeah.
love it. So those little things, which
Paying-
yeah,
Paying attention to detail, yeah.
it makes it like next level, which is like the joy of filmmaking. To care enough to take this movie, which is a 4-year, not historically completely accurate, but the feel and the vibe of it, but just getting the details right so that it feels right.
Right.
And those small scenes, small scenes make a movie. The interaction between Joan Baez and Bob Dylan in the apartment, where Bob Dylan's kind of this self-centered, but yet he kind of gets it, kind of doesn't. Joan Baez doesn't.
Am I just here to watch you write music?
Joan Baez doesn't like him, but she just can't believe, but she loves what he can do. And just all these small moments make this movie so good. I know what question you might ask me, Pat, and I'm going to answer it for you. Because last year, my favorite movie.
He's psychic.
I am. Well, we've asked this question a lot. We're like, my favorite movie last year is a movie called Past Lives, which is a small, nice, comfortable, where the adults are mature. It's very much not like a Hollywood Oscar-nominated movie.
Okay.
Is this my Past Lives? Not exactly, but darn it, it's close, because it is true to the feel of what we hoped a Bob Dylan biography would be like. Much like Ray, much like Walk the Line, much like a lot of these movies that were like, no, they're not perfectly accurate, but they got the vibe. And way to go. Because I get it. Wicked's got a big fan base, but to me, this was my Wicked. This was the movie that I had more. I had more stake in this movie than maybe any other movie except for maybe Dune. So Dune and this had more stake for me. But I already knew Denis Villeneuve was directing Dune, so I knew I was going to be fine. So this one was, that was my. Not quite my super safe, but darn it if it didn't it got through. It
delivered.
It delivered.
It is. Again, historical.
Okay, guys, let's talk about the awards. What's it nominated for? Best Picture. First thing.
Best Picture.
Is it going to win Best Picture?
No.
Not a
No,
snowball's
probably-
chance in hell.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Should it? Should it?
No.
Should it be top? Is it top 5? Would it? If this was the old Oscars and
Yes.
there's only 5 nominations, would this be nominated?
Yeah.
I agree. I think so. I think it's
Yeah,
top 5 movie.
I think
there.
so.
I think it's top 5 movie there for sure. What else is it?
Because you got to get. Well, he'd already be there for Dune. I was going to say you got to get Timothée Chalamet to the Oscars, but he
Best
punched a couple
actor.
tickets.
That's true. That's true. So what else is best actor for Timothy? Is he going to win?
I think he could.
I think it could.
I think Adrian Brody is maybe the front runner, but he could. I'd be totally fine with it.
Yeah.
So we've got picture, we've got directing, actor, actress in supporting role, actor in a supporting role, adapted screenplay, costume design, and sound.
I say actor in a supporting role, yes.
Acting as support. So you got Edward Norton.
I'd give it to Edward Norton.
over who's he against? Over
I know, Kieran Culkin.
You literally just said Kieran
I
Culkin should
know.
win the
he
Oscar.
needs-
I think he's
can
for
they have
lead.
two?
Mariah
Can they
literally
each get an
last
Oscar?
night, 2 nights ago, Mariah texted us, give Kieran Culkin the Oscar. and now
no.
she's saying,
Yeah.
give it
It
to
is.
Edward Norton. I
Sorry.
mean, just come on. Like,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
seen this yet. I hadn't.
Oh, you
seen
hadn't?
it. No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I saw
Okay.
this
He
the
could.
next day.
Okay, that's fair.
And I don't think Joan Baez is going to win because she's such a newcomer.
She was in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. Like I said, nobody knows who she is.
Woo. She's not young. That's the other thing, too. It's like, she's like, I think she's 30. 32 or something. 30?
That seems pretty young to me.
It seems really young to me.
Practically dead.
Practically dead. Okay.
Oh, bring out the dead. Bring out-
Best sound. Do you think it would win for best sound?
I don't think so. Like technically, these other
Dune
more
would be
sci-fi,
better. Yeah.
complicated movies will get it.
Dude,
I don't
sound
understand
is
that
pretty
category
fun.
as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like,
how
it
would you
probably
know?
Honestly, and this is where best costume design I'd probably give to Wicked, or I'd probably give it to, because Wicked the sets on those was insane. Like that was like the that's where you like, yes, this is a big movie. This is like, when
They did put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did say they said there was like 4,500 extras or costumes they kind of had to supply. They bought out like every costume house in like the country for 60s period pieces, and they had like 5 full-time seamstresses working.
So if they get
The
it
whole
for
movie.
the
So
if
it's
they
a lot
get
of
it for
work.
the effort, then
Yeah.
maybe.
I was gonna say. Sounds like.
You don't think did Conclave get nominated for that? All the red.
I think it did.
I think it did
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
'cause
it got nominated.
they did the robes from like the
impressionistic.
1500s or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody.
I don't know that
Timothée
this wins
Chalamet.
anything, to be honest. Timothy Chalamet is probably the best bet, but I don't know that this wins anything.
Yeah, he's not going to beat out Adrian Brody, or he's probably not going to beat out. Okay, let's do this one. Is he better than Rafe Fiennes in Conclave?
I would maybe
Wow,
give it
you guys
to
were
him.
slow on that one. You
Yeah.
guys were real slow
I
on that
wasn't
one.
100%.
I
convinced.
want Ray Fiennes to win, and he spoke several languages in that movie.
He
and
did
it's Ray
speak
Fiennes.
Latin. That was impressive.
But he didn't play any guitar or harmonica or sound like Bob Dylan.
No, Cardinals aren't that talented. Turns out.
Well, here's the thing. I like this movie so much more than almost every movie we've watched so far. It's hard because I'm like, I'll rewatch this movie. I'm probably not going to rewatch most of the other movies that have been nominated this year. And I'm just so grateful to Timothée for just putting the work in. I'm just so grateful he didn't just like mail it in like some Avengers did and some racing movies. I'm looking at you, Australian Thor. Anyways, I'm still mad about Hunt versus Lauder. Anyways, that's another thing altogether, guys. We can go to a lot of. I sidetrack here.
Lots of issues.
I got
here,
lots
huh?
of issues, guys. I got lots of issues. James Mangold for Best Director. We already know how we all feel. We don't. The person who should win did not get nominated. But from the people who did get nominated, who do you think should win? Do you think James should?
I would be, I think, fine with that.
That is
Again, I don't think he's going to win. I think it's more likely to go to Brutalist.
Hasn't he already won? I'm really all about who's deserving. Like, oh, he
So you
already
think Bradley
got one.
Corbet
He
is gonna
doesn't
do it?
need
Okay.
a new one.
Yeah,
Sean Baker might win for
I want
Nora,
it to be fair.
honest.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's fair. Okay, so I would love for Timothée Chalamet to win, and I would love for Elle Fanning to be, nominated. That would be
You
my.
can't go back in time.
I
want
want to go back in time. That's what I want. Other than that, I'm cool. I don't think the other ones should win. I do love that this brought back James Mangold. Like I thought he was going to be on like the blacklist, and now he's like, no, oh yeah, you're still a great director. Let's keep bringing it on.
Because of Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad.
Oh come on. You're
I
generous.
Wasn't that bad.
actually haven't seen the
You're
newest
generous.
one.
Okay.
And he had bangers right before that.
Oh,
So
everything.
he's
Everything
fine.
was bangers.
He can have one mild
true.
failure in the middle there.
Okay, final take on this movie. Who wants to go first? Do you want to start it off, guys?
Yes, please.
Dear Timothée Chalamet, I know there are a lot of teenage girls who love you, but I just want to add my name because you cared not only about looking like a little starlet's dream, but you gave Bob Dylan his due. Thank you, Timothée Chalamet. And James Mangold, welcome back. We missed you. It's nice to have you back, buddy. Keep killing it. Make some more biopsies. I'll watch any music film you make.
Biopsies?
Love Seth. Biographies?
Did he say
Biopsies?
biopsy?
Just
biopsy.
plucking out a
Do some
chunk.
more biopsies.
A chunk of. I mean, it's a biopsy of a life, right? I'm just gonna take a little
man.
piece.
Thank you, Pat.
Miss,
I did not deserve you to save me, but
way to
thank
go
Well
you.
deep,
said,
Thank
Seth.
you. Real deep.
Yeah.
no,
You kept me deep.
Way over our heads.
All right. Who's next?
I'm stunned after
Michael
the facial,
Goodale.
the biopsy thing. I just, jeez, I know.
No more
yeah.
biopsies.
Well, we've got to give it to Timothée Chalamet. You have
to.
It's just absolutely extraordinary in this, and did Bob Dylan proud. And
Nice.
I think I just really think the whole movie did the time proud.
Nice.
I was
That's awesome.
accurate enough. Go ahead.
That's awesome. Because that's that's the thing. Like, is it really like it really? Because that's what we always want to know.
It's
Yeah.
the vibe.
You know, the vibe. Because you can't get it perfect.
Right.
But can you get the feel of it? Because like it felt like I'm like, oh, is this what it felt like? You know, that was like the fun thing about like this movie is like,
Yeah.
I got to feel what it was like to be around during that time.
Yeah. You
The
did.
Kennedy.
And it was done that well.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think so.
I just want
You're
to
gonna get
say,
hate mail.
Yeah, I know.
for the first time going to a movie theater by myself,
First time ever.
I'm pretty sure
Wow.
this movie was. It made me feel safe in there. It made me feel like I don't mind going to movies by
There you
myself.
go.
Oh, okay.
So like this
And-
movie delivered on a different level for me.
And it
Wow.
would have been okay if somebody else was in the theater and saw you
Yeah.
doing
Being
that.
by
That's
yourself.
It'd be okay.
Well, yeah,
Depends who, I guess.
probably, yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It was good.
Good. Cool.
Okay,
The
Pat, bring
first
us
time
home.
I did that was last year to see Longlegs in Ohio,
Whoa, weird.
which is it's a weird sentence to say, really.
Back in Ohio.
This would have been, I think, easier to do that. I like I said earlier, I think this is like classic quality Oscar baity prestige movie stuff. Like, it's really good work across the board. There's nothing you got to go, huh? My only like criticism really is like emotionally, maybe I didn't get as high as or low as maybe you could from a story like this, but I was fine with that. It was about the journey, and the music took me along the way, and I was I was very pleased by the entire experience.
Nice.
All right.
I got one more thing to say. This is the second least Oscar baity movie of the year next to Dune 2. And that's a compliment. Because this is just a good movie. It's not trying to be so Oscar baity. It's trying to push something. Anyways, that's all. Anyways, guys, this was a pleasure. Dad, thanks for coming. This was so
Thank you.
so fun. My name's Seth. This is
I'm Dale.
Grandpa Dale.
Mariah.
And
Pat.
and we are How to Be a Movie Snob. Keep listening, keep watching movies, and we got 2 more movies left. Don't worry, guys, we won't have a podcast as long as The Brutalist because it is still going on. If you're watching it, you're probably still in the theater because it's that long. All right, guys, see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Boom.